What does the future hold? MBA Revenue Potential Analysis by Daniel Liu. Hi, I'm Daniel, a junior from American High School in Fremont, California, which is also where I'm zooming in from. My mentor is Gregory Krug, who was very knowledgeable and helpful during this whole process. Some things I like to do is play sports, especially tennis, volunteering, and hanging out with my friends. The major I'm looking forward to going into is business and entrepreneurship. I chose this research topic because it combines my passion for both sports and business. Here's what I'm going to go over today. I'll first start off with an introduction giving a brief history of sports. Then I'll talk about why I believe the NBA is the best league out of the Power Four, which I'll get into very soon. I'll then relay my research question and methodology. After that, I'll display my results, which will show an order of all 30 NBA teams ranked from most potential to least potential. I'll then dive a little deeper into 3 NBA teams, 2 teams at the top of their predicted revenue potential, and 1 near the bottom. Finally, I'll conclude my findings in the research project. First, I want to give a brief history of sports before diving into the NBA. In 776 BC, the first Olympic Games were held in Greece, where the main sport was called the stadium race, which is what we call today track and field. Moving on to the 12th century, where tennis was invented. Then, in the 1600s, the first sightings of cricket were seen, as it turned out to be a worldwide sport. Moving into the 1900s, where Major League Baseball was founded and is one of the key leagues a part of the Power Four. Then came the NHL in 1917, which is the second member of the Power Four. Then came the National Football League in 1920, becoming the third member. And finally, in 1946, the National Basketball Association became the final member of the Power Four. The Power Four consists of the NFL, NBA, MLB, and NHL, and these leagues dominate U.S. sports due to their extensive fan bases, lucrative sponsorship deals, and prominent media rights agreements. These 4 leagues have a combined revenue of $47.3 billion and are one of the most famous leagues in the world. These 4 leagues are all tightly bunched, with prominent sponsors of these leagues being Nike, Gatorade, SeatGeek, and Apple. These 4 leagues are the face of American sports. But the NBA stands out the most. You may ask, why focus on the NBA? First and foremost, it is the most international sport among the Power 4 leagues. The NBA leads all the U.S. sports leagues in international media rights value, bringing in an impressive $715 million. To further expand its global reach, the NBA has taken preseason games to unique locations such as Hawaii and Dubai, introducing basketball to regions that may not have a strong fan base. This global expansion, paired with the league's inclusivity and diversity initiatives, have significantly boosted its international audience. The rise of international superstars like Nikola Jokic and Luka Doncic and Giannis Antetokounmpo have also played a major role. Beyond its global influence, the NBA boasts the most big-name players of any American sport. According to Jackson Cleary from the University of New Hampshire, a big-name player is defined as someone who was either an all-star before joining a team, became an all-star within a year of joining, or is a former league MVP. The NBA also presents huge growth opportunities. The recently introduced in-season tournament was a big success, averaging 4.58 million viewers across ABC and ESPN, making it the most-watched non-Christmas regular season NBA game since February of 2018. Additionally, flashy rookies like Jared McCain are making waves, blending their social media influence with on-court performance, a rare combination that attracts younger audiences. The arrival of Victor Wembanyama has also been a game-changer, earning the San Antonio Spurs their first Christmas Day game in 7 years. Christmas Day games are a marquee event featuring the league's most exciting matchups, and Wembanyama's presence, being the tallest player in the NBA, adds a new level of entertainment. Now I'm getting into my research question. My research question is which NBA teams have the strongest opportunity for overall revenue growth in the next 5 years? My hypothesis is that I predict that in the next 5 years, the Minnesota Timberwolves, Oklahoma City Thunder, and Philadelphia 76ers will have the strongest opportunity for revenue growth. I'm going to get into my methodology now. To begin with, I collected around 20 external variables for the years 2023 to 2024. I then needed to find what the significant variables were when trying to uncover a team's potential in team revenue. To do this, I ran a predictive model, specifically a linear regression model, to come up with these significant variables. My significant variables ended up being social media followers, average secondary ticket price, DMA size, and team salary. Once I figured out the significant variables, I started to gather them historically, because the current model wasn't going to tell me who had the most potential, but only the most significant variables. So then I created an index score, which I'll show in a couple of slides, to find out which team had the most potential based on these significant variables. Part of the index is looking at the significant growth rates within those variables. I took the historical growth rates of the significant variables and multiplied them by the coefficient of the significant variable. Coefficient meaning the variable's strength and how important the variable was, because not all variables are weighted the same. The p-value on the chart measures the probability of obtaining the observed results, assuming the hypothesis is true. The lower the p-value, the greater the statistical significance of the observed difference. A p-value of 0.05 or lower is generally considered statistically significant, and looking from the chart, the most important variable in the model was the average secondary ticket price. After running the model, I found that the model had an accuracy of 83.5%. Here I'm going to explain each of the significant variables and why they're significant. First of all, average secondary ticket price is important because it measures the demand of NBA fans, and depending on how high it is, they'll price it in a certain way. The higher the average secondary ticket price, it usually means the more demand. For social media followers, I found that a team's popularity depended on how big they were from a media perspective. The data is taken from the total Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok followers combined in 2024. This is important because social media has transformed how the NBA operates, engages with fans, and grows as a global brand. DMA size is important because it influences revenue, fan base reach, and media exposure. Larger DMAs allow teams to gain more potential earnings from TV contracts, sponsorships, and advertising. Finally, team salary assesses a team's potential revenue because without funds, it is hard to recruit talented players. This directly influences the team's performance as well as fan engagement. Now I'll get into the long-awaited results. From this graph, it can be seen that the Houston Rockets and the Orlando Magic have the most potential for overall revenue growth, while the New York Knicks have the least potential. I didn't want to just look at the data, I wanted to look at the situation in a broader form than just the model. This is why I'm doing a team analysis for 3 teams: the Houston Rockets, Orlando Magic, and New York Knicks. The Houston Rockets' growth has been inevitable, reflected in a 127.1% increase in ticket prices over the past year. The average secondary ticket price has doubled since 2023 and is expected to rise further based on the team's performance. With the Forbes valuation in the NBA's top 7, they remain one of the league's most valuable franchises. Houston's large market, boasting the 4th highest U.S. city population and a strong MSA GDP, supports continued revenue growth. Additionally, the Rockets' global appeal remains strong, with deep ties to China from the Yao Ming era and expanding fan bases in the Philippines and Turkey, thanks to Jalen Green and Alfred Sengun. This international presence further enhances their marketability and revenue potential. The Orlando Magic have the 2nd highest potential for overall revenue growth. After years of struggle, the young core of Paolo Banchero, Franz Wagner, and Jalen Suggs led them to the playoffs with a winning record, a trend continuing into the 2024-25 season. Key factors driving their revenue growth include expanding their DMA size and rising average secondary ticket prices, both of which have doubled. Orlando has the 2nd fastest growing city in the U.S., attracting 40.6 million visitors in early 2024 alone, further fueling their ticket demand. The Magic also benefited from their prime location as a major tourist hub with Disneyland and Universal Studios. Orlando draws millions of visitors, some of whom may attend Magic games. Additionally, Disney's sponsorship helps market this team, increasing their visibility and fan engagement. The New York Knicks have likely reached their peak in ticket and revenue growth. As one of the NBA's biggest franchises, their GDP and secondary ticket prices have stagnated, indicating limited upward mobility. With a high team salary and a strong global presence both geographically and on social media, there are few opportunities for further expansion. Playing in the iconic Madison Square Garden, the Knicks benefit from New York's status as a major tourist destination, consistently drawing a diverse fan base. However, unlike teams like the Orlando Magic and the Houston Rockets, they're not experiencing rapid growth. To maintain their position, the Knicks must continue performing at a high level and making the playoffs, otherwise they risk a decline in their revenue potential. The future of the NBA looks bright with the up-and-coming young stars that are currently in the NBA and media rights deals that will propel the NBA forward. This research aimed to analyze which NBA teams have the most opportunity and potential for overall revenue growth. By examining key variables like social media followers, average secondary ticket price, team salary, and DMA size, the Houston Rockets and Orlando Magic stood out as top contenders. This analysis shows that teams can set trends in terms of financial growth, and their success could influence future strategies adopted by other franchises. The interesting part about this analysis is that it can continue to be updated year in and year out to see, track, and follow. That's why I decided to do this, because people can see if it comes to fruition at the end of the day. While this research highlights promising teams for growth, further studies should explore the long-term effects on these teams. The potential for growth in the NBA remains high, and understanding these statistics is critical for investors, team managers, and fans alike. Here's my works cited. Thank you for listening.